This is our kind of like second episode of mine and Doubleshine's kind of critical review of everything so far. So today we're going to go through all of the teasers, right? So far. So we're only a week into the reveals. We're going to go through them kind of one by one. Yep. That's the plan, right?
Yeah. So I think that like I've been having so many people saying like, oh, can you just do that every day again? can you two just go back? And I'm like, all right, please just like give us a couple days. All right. Like I don't want to be embarrassed every single day posting up the new new list of region rankings. So
yeah. And what's even crazier is that even the reveals like outside of the Echo Boss information, I feel like they are really impacting the rankings day by day. So like,
oh, they're huge.
Yeah, like we can make a list again today. In a few more days, it'll change again.
Yep.
Right.
I'm really glad that we're doing this after the Total Recall, because originally we were supposed to do this yesterday before Banker's Note and Total Recall came out, and I'm like so glad that we ended up like accidentally lining up so that it hits this day, because it's a pretty big one. And I think like, do you remember last year how we had this like advent calendar style thing, and there were stuff like, here are the drop rate multipliers for like the first couple, like, dude, the stuff we're getting this year is crazy compared to that. Like we're getting entire tiers.
Yeah.
All the Echo, like I don't know, it is nuts how much information is coming out, and literally just 1 week in, like there's still another week of stuff to go through. Like I don't know, that's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy this year. I wonder though, are we in for a reveal this year that is going to be a little bit kind of like tame? Is it going to be like, oh, okay, so here are all of the drop rate multipliers. Here are all of the minigame multipliers. Here are the kind of passive effects of any relic tiers. Are we just going to get all of them in a reveal and that's going to feel a little bit underwhelming? Or because it might all be packaged together, is that actually going to be a pretty nice reveal to have this year? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of like room for more stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got like an information dump.
Yeah.
But like just based on how much they've been fitting in on every single day, I feel like they're trying to spread it out a bit more evenly, as opposed to, I remember last year it was like we got kind of like small stuff and like a couple big ones, and then the last days it was like just nukes of like here's all the information. And I think they're trying to space it out a bit more. We saw Echo Bosses. Hopefully we'll see Combat Masteries sometime this week. So that's like the last thing I feel before I can really start to.
I feel like you're holding back on us. Is this going to be it? Is there going to be a Doubleshine video that pops out now in Masteries? Who knows?
I can't. Okay, if I was asked to do that, I would not say anything. All right, that's
of course. No. Sorry, I don't want to put you under pressure.
Been reached out, and if they have reached out to me, I can't say that I would have been reached out.
Everyone in the comments is going to be theorizing now, and
I know it's awful.
I love that. I love it. Should we start then? Should we start with the first reveal?
Let's start going through it. Tier 1 relics, right? That was the first one we got. Kind of big tradition of leagues, right? We're always getting those tier 1 relics coming in first.
Yeah.
And this year, I mean, what can I say? Endless Harvest up top. Everybody's part of Harvest Gang now. So we got the Animal Wrangler, the Lumberjack, and the Power Miner, and it's basically combining the effect of Endless Harvest, but you're also getting that Infernal Gathering effect too, where you're like auto cooking, auto smelting, auto fire making, I guess. Yeah. So I think it's really cool. I really like it. I really like this kind of tier.
I love that.
New direction.
No. I super love that. And I don't want to jump straight into theory crafting and, theorizing, but like, does this mean we're going to get a production kind of one along the same lines later on? I'm not sure. I feel like some of these actually already kind of do that for you, like you say, don't they? Because they've got the infernal kind of tools built in.
And that's why I don't think we'll see a production one, because it is kind of built in. And so like, imagine if you could do, there's a production one that made you like smith all of your bars. Why would you ever pick that with a mining one? Right? It's like, and then you would just pick that instead, and it feels like you're just kind of combining two of them. I'm not like against it. I just think it's a little bit like redundant when you're overlapping relics like that.
Yeah, but that's like, it leaves the question, doesn't it, of like, are they actually opening up the path for you to have like a super flexible build? So, you pick Harvester for your woodcutting. Let's say you're a Lumberjacker, but then you pick a production for the smithing or mining skill. So that way you're balanced out kind of on both ends, if that makes sense. So I think there's still a possibility that could happen. But you're right.
Things like Herblar too. That would be huge.
Exactly.
To
yeah.
make all your potions. That would be. I think I would definitely pick something like that because making potions sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Although some of these kind of like more recent relics we've seen, I feel like they're just gonna make things so easy now, which is incredible. But we'll get onto that in a bit. We're talking about tier 1 relics, Power Miner, Lumberjack, Animal Wrangler. They all look, in their defense, I think they all look amazing. And I was super surprised when I saw the poll in Discord at how few people are picking a Lumberjack relic. So tell me, because I feel like this is your thing, isn't it? Are you a Lumberjacker?
So for a while I was very much on the page of like I think Animal Wrangler's the best and stuff.
Yeah.
Recently I've been kind of getting very like I'm almost positive that I'm gonna take Lumberjack at this point. It's really, really close for me. And the reason why is because like I've played Endless Harvest the last 2 seasons and it is still awful to do mining. Like it's still awful to do mining even when you have Endless Harvest because you're clicking constantly between the rocks, right? There's no like infinite source like there is Karambwans or Dark Crabs. And going from like 1 second to like 5 seconds because now it lasts for 5, like is that really that big of a difference for me? It's nice, but it's not like game breaking. And basically I just started thinking that there's a very good chance, maybe because, you know, I'll probably be editing videos and stuff. There's a very good chance that I'm going to spend a lot of time doing shooting stars to get my mining up.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance that I'm going to be doing Karambwans for fishing. And that's a pretty substantial amount of AFK time.
Yeah.
Even without Animal Wrangler. Like, yeah, you'll get 25 minutes of just AFKing at Karambwans. That's awesome, right? Like, that's cool. If you want to do that every single night, good for you kind of thing. But what I realized is that Lumberjack will allow you to do magic logs AFK for about 4 minutes because of forestry. And opening that up compared to having to do like teak trees and stuff like that, I think I actually checked, and because you're getting that like 50% like coin flip chance of getting the resource, things like magic logs, sharks, all that stuff becomes so insanely good. And AFK magic logs, so 4 minutes of AFK is the same rate as 1.5 tick teaks, or roughly about the same.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
that's kind of nuts. Like to me, that feels really good, and it's going to get one of the more annoying skills I think out of the way. That doesn't have as good of an AFK option as the others.
What kind of tasks do you envisage that being able to help you with? Because there's always typically the kind of things of like fletch, X-bow, cut set amount of logs, isn't there? And I suppose burn X amount of logs as well. So it speeds up all of those. I'm just thinking, compared to some of the other 2 relics, do you think that when it comes to points, this one could potentially win out?
I think on points alone, probably not. But a big thing is that you cannot buy logs from shops. You can buy food from shops. You can buy ore from shops.
Yeah.
You can't buy logs for planks. And construction is pretty huge. We've already seen some pretty crazy strong relics. We'll probably get into that give you the money to buy some pretty strong construction options. But even outside of that, just having a huge supply of planks from doing mahoganies or doing teaks, like I think that's going to help a lot with construction. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well, is it's easy to look at these in isolation and just pick one out. But actually, the picture's going to get so broad. And like, we will get onto the other reveal shortly. But like, if you are picking Golden God or, another thing that helps you with your money, Lumberjack does feel like a very good option for filling a gap that money can't buy. Like you say, pretty much. So I can totally see that. Do you want to know my opinion then?
If you have access to like stonemason, it's kind of different, right?
Yeah.
Just get your
if you're a Varlamore or Fremennik,
that's a different start. Yeah. But we'll talk about that with Golden God because that's a pretty cool one. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So let me hear your takes. Kind of like.
Well, no, so when I first saw these, immediately I thought Power Miner looks insane. It kind of does solve that early money problem as well. And typically, Varrock East and West mines and some of the other mines around Misthalin on day one are, I'm going to be honest with you, they're a pain in the arse. Like, trying to get what you need to tick off your tasks while everyone else is there is horrible, man. And I thought, oh God, if so many people take this relic, there's no shot I'm going to be in with a chance unless I pick this. But I actually love that they kind of thought about this, because in the power mine in Relic, the fact that you don't deplete the rock for 4 ores, not only does that kind of benefit you, getting multiple ores from a rock, but it also kind of prevents all the competition in a way, or at least slows it down, because if everyone is mining the same thing, you're going to get multiple things, and those people that don't pick the mine in Relic are still going to be able to get an ore from that rock. So it kind of solves the issue that I thought it would create in the first place. And then with Animal Wrangler, I'll be honest with you, I totally agree. I think that you can already have your AFK time fishing, Kourend ones, or even like, sharks or minnows or whatever you end up doing. But I think that the other end of this relic is what is making it attractive for me, or the hunter stuff. Because I'm a big Varlamore fan. I don't think that's any secret at this point. And I still plan on at least one of my playthroughs picking that region first. And that is where I think this region is, where I think this relic, is probably gonna be stronger, rather than its like fishing element. Don't get me wrong, it's got some great synergies with other relics later on, which we'll get into, but just as like the standalone kind of like bits of that relic, the hunter stuff is so exciting for me. It really is.
I think if you're going with a region that has Chinchampas, well, for everybody gets gray chins at the Isle of Souls, but like red chins in Kandarin, Tirannwn, or black chins in the Wildy, I feel like this is a must pick, basically. Like, because fishing is also really good. It's kind of like it's kind of the same as with Lumberjack, how you can start doing magic logs. Now you'll be able to fish like dark crabs. You'll be able to do sharks for pretty much, I think, like meta rates. Mining with Asgarnia is also really good for amethyst for that same reason. You get like 300k experience an hour before any multipliers, which is insane. So yeah, I think that if you have chins, Animal Wrangler almost feels like a no-brainer. I just don't know if I'm going for a chin region. So
no, I get that. And to be honest, the other bit outside of chins that I thought was great is if you do, I mean, we still don't have a task list, right? If you do pick a region that does have a lot of hunter creatures in it, I can definitely see that with the kind of more hunting rework, the refresh to a lot of how hunting works around the game, I'm imagining there's going to be some more tasks around it this year. So it may help with those, but I totally do think that the other two relics have almost like a better long-term plan than Animal Wrangler. But
especially with Varlamore, the later hunter rumors, they basically are like 100% to get them anyways. But it's going to help you get past that early game, and you don't want to be stuck doing the low-level hunter creatures.
No, I don't want to be
really rough.
I don't want to be doing pyre foxes for like 2 days in a row, man. That's going to drive me
like
nuts.
75 people there? Yeah.
that's going to drive me nuts. Like when Varlamore first got released and I got my first pyre fox task, I kid you not, I think I was like maybe hopping between 20, 30 worlds to try find a spot. It was horrible. But I was going to say that for me, I think knowing that I'm going to have to edit videos of gameplay in leagues, Animal Wrangler has that other element of like long AFK time that I think I'm just looking forward to. So that is probably, if I'm honest, selfishly, the main reason I'm going to pick Animal Wrangler. But I can totally see that they're all good. I really love that there's not one to me that I think that is clearly the best and that is clearly the worst.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for most people, Wrangler will be better just because of 25 minutes. Like you can go, like I remember I went to the store sometimes to like get food. I would come back and I'm still, 600 deep into my Kourend ones basically. And that was really fun, really cool to use. Although I think people are sleeping on Lumberjack, and I wanted to point out its strengths, which is very applicable. Really, unless you have a good use case for Wrangler, I think Lumberjack's going to be pretty popular. Maybe not for Zaya though, because I think that might be double dipping a little too much. Yeah,
with having Wintertodt accessible there as well.
You do get auto fletch, but like I don't think it's as important.
I really like the auto fletch, because actually one of the best ways to do fletching in leagues is just broad arrowheads. And one of the most annoying parts for me in previous leagues has been getting all those shafts together in the first place. So I think people look at that and they can easily be like, is that good? But yes, it is. It is actually really useful.
Yeah. If they change it to headless arrows, I think it would be a lot better.
That would be insane, actually. Yeah. Not having to get the feathers.
That would be a huge benefit. And it would, I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely agree. The only thing I don't like about Lumberjack, and I'm not bashing on the relic, is that luckily it's a toggle, but like choosing to burn logs is, it's useful for trying to get the requirements, like you say, from maybe going to Wintertodt or something like that, or just trying to get your like total levels up. for tasks or whatever it might be. Otherwise, I feel like that part of it just feels a little bit like it's got such minimal uses, you know?
Well, cooking's pretty easy too. Like I feel like that was my idea with cooking. Smithing is hard, and I agree. I think mining is really good for the smithing portion.
Yeah.
Like I think the production portion is something that people don't think about enough.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the other good thing about the mining one as well was the gems, right? Like early gems just being crafted straight away. That's awesome.
You can go to the Shiloh village mine now with medium Karamja diaries. So like, there's plenty there. You're not going to be fighting for people.
Yeah,
it's going to be really cool.
I think one of the first things Foe said when he saw that reveal was like, oh, the Shiloh Village gem mine is just going to be full of people now. So that's kind of cool. I like that.
Shall we move on to the next reveal?
Tier 1. It was a good reveal. It was a really good reveal, but I do feel like the next day was even cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, so day 2, we got Golden God. And what this basically does is it allows you to cast High Alchemy for free, no rune cost, no level requirement, straight at level 1 magic if you wanted to. Items give 50% more gold, but most importantly, they have a 65% chance to not be consumed. What this essentially means is that every item you get, you'll be able to alch it 3.2 times. That's how the math works out. So, and
that's cool.
Monetarily wise, every single item roughly doubles in value by the time you're done, like putting it through that alch chain. So you're basically doubling your GP every time you buy a stack of items.
Yeah.
And you also get to note items, which is a huge perk. And you also get to use gold at prayer altars to get prayer experience quite a bit. So it's kind of like, I think people are basically calling it like the upgraded fire sale of this year.
I love it. I think it's I think it incorporates more elements of gameplay, and it is a less lazy relic. So I'm not saying like Fire Sale was like a bad relic by any means. You know, people bash on it. It's a good relic, but I feel like this is just a better way to actually have some gameplay around it. And I just love that it's got so many ways that it can be used with other relics and skills. You know, we were just talking about Animal Wrangler and things like that. You know, even with the woodcutting relic, you know, if you have a constant stack of arrowheads coming in, fair enough, you know, they're not going to out for much money, but that's constant magic XP, because the Owl King, I think Mod Husky confirmed, does give you magic XP as well. So
this is basically free 200 mil magic.
Yeah.
Oh, did I forget? I think I actually forgot to say the most important part. It just auto alchs the entire time. Like,
that is crazy.
I almost forgot. That's like the coolest thing about this is it just automatically alchs while you're gathering. It'll keep alching while you're fighting. If you open up a bank and then you close the bank, it resumes alching. If you swap your spell book, it keeps alching. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. And it just works with so many. I know a lot of people out there actually have been thinking like, okay, so, you know, theorizing with Animal Wrangler, okay, I can fish for 25 minutes AFK. I can also alch for 25 minutes AFK. That's an easy 200 mil magic and fishing. But actually, you know, it goes a lot wider than that. You know, if you're mining something like a rune rock, you know, that can take a very long time. And you're going to be getting up to 4 or 7 ores if you've got superior mining gloves. So you might be there a long time, alching while you're doing that. If you're woodcutting, you know, and you're doing the magic logs or redwood trees, same thing. Fair enough, maybe not for as long as you would be with Animal Wrangler, but I think this actually does so well with all of the tier 1 relics. And I don't know what tier it is, you know?
I think that because it's so similar to Fire Sale, I'm expecting this to be like tier 3. And I think it's going to pair really well with those gathering relics.
Yeah.
I know some people don't think that this is very good, but like, just to be clear, even something like getting dragon longswords starts becoming like 40 mil an hour cash.
Yeah.
Like,
and you only need a diamond to get in, right? Like, that's it. You just need a diamond, I think, to get into that market, and that's it.
Which you can buy from Sahara shop, right? Like, you'll have the money to go buy the runes and stuff like that. Like, I think people, like, it is a slower start. You're not just starting off with infinite money, but like, I think by like literally day 2 or day 3, you're gonna have max cash stack. Alching condensed gold is, I believe, 2 billion an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which, well, actually, but you can only do it for 20 minutes because I'm pretty sure you'll hit the max cash stack in 20 minutes of alching. It's like
so, like, arguably it's an upgraded Fire Sale, because I know a lot of people with Fire Sale were thinking like, okay, so I actually need the magic requirement first, and that's a hurdle. I need the runes first, and that was a hurdle, but not anymore. You know, now you've got the access to you know, you don't need the level requirement for high alch. You're not always going to use up the item. I think it's just a really flexible and upgraded version of Fire Sale, in my opinion. And I love the prayer. The prayer side of it is sweet as well, right?
Yeah. It's like you mentioned, it's another AFK option. I love AFK options in leagues. I think people assume they're going to be playing 100% of the time, and that's just not true. Like, you're going to have downtime. You know, most of us have jobs. Like, we got other stuff to be doing and stuff. And, you know, you'll have enough coins to get 99 prayer probably by like day 4, day 5. Like, it's pretty strong. And you won't even need like the Wildy altar. I won't even bother with the Wildy altar. Like, just throw one up in your house. Yeah. Go eat lunch, and you'll come back with like 5 mil prayer experience. You'll be fine. Yeah,
easy. And it's been confirmed to work at like the Ectofunctus as well. So, you know, if you are
really?
a Mori picker, yeah, I think it has. All right, don't hold me on that, but I'm sure I saw someone ask the question soon after reveal, and I'm sure someone said like, yeah, it does, which is great because I feel like the Ectofunctus is, you know, the one piece of prayer content that gets left in the dust when you compare it to everything else. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, prayer is good. I think a lot of people act like gold and prayer is something that's so easily solved, or like magic, but like these are not that easy to get, especially at the early game, because I do think it's going to be a fairly early game relic. It's going to help you out pretty early on. And having 99 magic, that's a ton of tasks. There's so many magic based tasks, especially if you go the desert with like the ancients or Fremennik with lunars. Yeah. Having good prayer is going to be nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's...
Prayer plays into so many elements of this league as well. Like, you know, I mean, we'll get onto this, but like there's echo weapons that need prayer. There's gear. You know, we've got new prayer gear this year from Varlamore. And
Grimoire unlocks all the prayers.
Grimoire unlocks all the prayers. And like, just coming back to something you just said there, people saying that like prayers are solved skill. Like, if you're talking about getting overhead prayers, sure, you can just bury bones. You'll get overhead prayers in no time. But actually, prayer goes pretty deep, and unless you are going to pick that Grimoire, can never pronounce that, Grimoire Relic, you're...
The Grimmy.
You know, the Grimmy. That's just easier to say.
Yeah.
We'll say
that's
the
what
Grimmy.
we're going to call it.
Unless you are going to pick that, which we'll get onto in a bit, you are going to need like 77 prayer or whatever it is. And that's assuming that we're not going to be treated with, you know, a new prayer book relic this year, which may still happen. So there's lots of uses for prayer that I think people don't see.
Yeah, and gold in general, it's good for, again, good for like construction. You can basically do all the fire sale construction methods. You will be able to do them in a couple days. It's good for buying raw fish, good for buying ores. There's a couple ore shops. Yeah, there's a lot. I think pretty much all your production ones, you'll be able to buy like broad arrows and stuff like that. Like, also, again, noted. I feel like buying noted is something that people don't think about. It is way easier to buy noted than like, yeah, you'll have like, you know, you'll be able to like bankers note your stuff or whatever. But like, it's better to buy things noted. It really is.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to your big reveal, the Echo bosses?
Yeah, the Echo bosses. Oh man, this was so much fun. Yeah, I remember seeing Hootie sent me the thumbnail before it went up, and I was like, oh man, that looks so cool. I love that wildy weapon design and the KVD and everything. But yeah, should we get into it? So day 3 reveal was Echo bosses and Echo items or Echo rewards. And I'm not going to get into like loads of detail because there's tons of videos out there, but there's one Echo boss per region. Let's just go in the order that it's on the reveal page, which I think is Asgarnia first, and that's the dog sword. I can quickly explain that because it's really simple. It's every god sword into one, and the name, first of all, is the best thing about this weapon. Special attacking weapon, quite clearly, and we still don't know what the special attacking relic is this year. It could be incredible, or it could be, you know, up against some real hard competition if there isn't something good to synergize with this. What are your thoughts on the dog sword?
So, okay, before I ask, okay, I gotta ask you, when you made the video, did they just send you footage or did you actually get to press the button?
Oh, like, yeah, no. Okay, so I can't really say much. I'll be honest with you, I can't. Okay,
well, what I'm saying is I want to press this button.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Really bad. I need to press the button. I'm so jealous right now. It's like,
yeah, I didn't get to press the button. I think I can say that. I didn't get to press the button, sadly.
Okay, you didn't get... Okay, because I want to press the button. And if you did press the button, I'd be very jealous right now. So.
No, I didn't get to press the button. And I can't wait to do it, because I think that this weapon could just be such a fun weapon. I think in terms of viability, it's going to depend on whether there's a special attacking relic or not.
Yeah, the healing on this is crazy. I think healing is going to be really huge. So
yeah.
I'm excited for this. Like, I think once we see it, a lot of people are probably going to open their eyes to this a bit more. I think right now people are kind of like on the fence because it's just not like thematically it's cool, but spec weapon with no spec relic is nothing crazy. So
yeah, let's talk about the desert, because we this is the only one we guessed. This is the only one we guessed. One we
got right. To be fair, they kind of spelled it out for us when they said a ranged weapon from the desert that's about the strength of a blowpipe. So
yeah,
you know, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm some wizard here coming up with this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Drygar blowpipe, I'm so excited for this thing, because what does blowpipe suck at? It sucks at having accuracy, and this thing has that Fang effect of it rolls for accuracy twice. It's also, again, redemption from the old like Leagues 2 of like blowpipe in the desert, and I think a super accurate ranged weapon is going to make the desert really fun, especially because that's going to shore up where a twisted bow kind of lacks. It just demolishes those high magic, but having a blowpipe on top of that feels like there's going to be really, really fun swaps.
Yeah, for sure. I did like a builds video that came out not long ago, and I love this gore maxing build where people are just going to go for a blowpipe build around this item, max out as much range strength as possible, and this thing goes to town, man. Like, I'll be honest, when I first saw all these reveals and I was putting the video together, I thought like, I'm actually not sure about the blowpipe. Is it weak? Is it actually bad? Like, I guess it's accurate, but the max hit potential sucks. But actually, you only have
20 range strength less than the regular blowpipe too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's so.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's what I thought, oh wow, this thing does suck. And then they started doing the calculations, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly the same as me, man. As soon as you pair this with a couple of regions that give you good like range gear, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love it. I'm almost like pretty sure I'm going the desert now just for this. It's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's super cool. And we spoke about this just like offline and stuff, but KQ is actually a pretty accessible boss, no requirements really. And, depending on what kind of build you go down, magic, ranged melee, you could do this boss pretty early on. So, yeah, could be cool.
That's something I think we should definitely keep in mind is what bosses are easily done, right? They have put like a difficulty. This is an elite, right? Yeah. There's elite, master, like 5 elites, 3 masters, and 1 grandmaster.
Yeah.
And I think that is something you should think about, because you'll be able to get these a little bit earlier and use this as like an entryway weapon into the rest of the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
You're not gonna get a shadow nearly as fast as this thing, from my guess at least.
No. So let's move on to Morytania. Here we've got the Grotesque Guardians, and this is really cool. Like you say, picking up some of the bosses that I think are quite unpopular or don't have the most inspiring rewards or fights already. And from here you can get the Gloves of the Damned, which act as like Barrow's gloves, which is really cool, but they also act as an Amulet of the Damned, and they double the effects of the Amulet of the Damned editions and the set effects. And I'll just jump in, because I had to clear this up on my previous video as well. They don't double everything. They don't double the chance for something to happen and the effectiveness of that set effect. That got cleared up in the FAQ on the official Discord. So all it really does is if there's a percentage chance for something to happen, it will double that. If there's not a percentage chance for something to happen, it will double the effect. Easy to confuse. And the wording was quite ambiguous, I think, when I first read through it myself. So that's my bad. I'll put my hands up for that. But ultimately,
I've just been saying it's 15% damage when you're using RM's magic. That's just what I did. I just tell people it's 15% more damage. Don't think about the other stuff.
That's a better way of looking at it. Just look at the overall like DPS increase the gloves give you, because that's ultimately what it's going to do. It's going to make all these Barrow sets better.
Yeah, I think that even if all the sets aren't that strong, like if you can find 3 or 4 of them, that still feels really good. It's a lot of versatile armor. I think it makes Barrows kind of in that same level of like Asgarnia and Varlamore, where you're having like multi armor, and that's very good. Armor is a little tougher to get. Arms is good for the magic. I think Darox is going to be the most fun thing. Yeah, like Darox is going to be super, super fun to use. And then, yeah, I think some of the other ones like Guthans, I think that lifesteal effect, the overheal, is going to be pretty cool. And I know Verax gives you a pretty huge prayer bonus, and there are some things that benefit from prayer. Even things like there's always been tasks that you have to get a certain prayer bonus, and that might help you kind of get that a little bit earlier than somebody else who might have to grind some like real late game gear.
100%. That's how I saw it. Was, you know, if you're one of those sadistic people who pick Morytania first, this is going to feel pretty good now. Or again, if you're picking Morytania kind of early on in your path and you want something to propel you into top or into those late game raids, this is going to be great with a set of barrows. It's just not, in my opinion, as competitive a late game option as some of the other things. But that's also why the stats of this item are really good. I think I was looking at a few combinations, and just wearing the gloves on their own it's just great stat padding, isn't it? So they are good just by themselves, even if you don't get a set effect.
Shall we move on to Kandarin?
Yeah, let's move on to... Oh, is it Kandarin next? I thought it was Wildy on the
Kandarin next. And Wildy, you're right. It is Wildy.
But we can do Kandarin, I don't mind.
No, I just completely read it wrong. I'm so excited about Kandarin. No, Wildy. So we got the Thunder Khopesh. Is it Khopesh?
Yeah.
Did we find out?
Yeah, I think it's just Khopesh.
And then the Thousand Dragon Ward. Yeah, so I like to think of the Thunder Khopesh as like a super Void Waker. That's how I've kind of been seeing it as. And then the Thousand Dragon Ward's like a super nice offhand, pretty damn tanky. It's kind of like a better Avernic, but not as tanky as a Dragonfire Shield.
Yeah.
And I love these weapons. I feel like this alone like tripled the amount of people going to the Wildy.
Oh, for sure.
Like just tripled it, yeah.
I was one of those people. I wasn't counting Wildy out, but when you look at our original region ranking list, Wildy is low for a reason. And that just completely changed as soon as I saw these. I thought, okay, I'm going to need to make a playthrough where I pick Wildy just for these items.
Yeah, I think the having a good offhand that's not based in Asgarnia is really cool. I don't know how much you've seen of like the damage numbers of the Khopesh, but it's looking to be pretty much like the craziest damage in the game right now, like next to Scythe, like pretty much right neck and neck with it. Obviously Combat Masteries, all that stuff, but and even like the special attack and the passive effect where you're doing like the Void Waker spec, and then you have like the lightning AoE, that's gonna make like the multi cave or like the multi combat caves in the Wildy. I feel like you're just gonna like equip this thing, like turn on protection from prayer, and like just chill and slowly start just eviscerating the pack.
Yeah, easy, super easy. I mean, I guess it all depends on the difficulty of the KBD, right? So it's listed at elite difficulty. You don't need any Slayer requirements or anything to access this. So again, is this a boss you could do early, or actually do the mechanics and the fact that you need, you know, a good form of anti-fire protection mean that you have to unlock a few things first? So, you know, how accessible it's actually going to be early, I think is still up as a question. But the weapons themselves, you're right, they are insane. I did some, you know, some builds with it with the crystal gear. So I really feel like Tirannwn and the Wildy here are crazy, and they out DPS the Scythe quite easy. So yeah, I think it's easy to look at this weapon and think like, oh, it's, you know, they've made the Void Waker redundant. I kind of get it in a way, but I think it's insane as just a standalone weapon as well. Stats are insane. Passive effect is crazy. It's got a special attack as well. Yeah, they really buffed Wildy this year.
I love it. I think Wildy's a really exciting place. I'm curious where it ends up in our region ranking. I won't spoil that just yet.
No.
Because I think maybe I'll halfway change my opinions as we talk. But yeah, I think Wildy's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really glad they're getting it. I'm kind of glad that they're getting 2, honestly. I was a little jealous because I'm like, what, you get 2? Yeah. That's not fair. Like, Kandarin.
Go for it. You're the Kandarin style, so you go for it.
So yeah, I will do my best defense of this thing. So pretty much Devil's Element just buffs elemental weaknesses. It like just doubles the effect of them. And I think pretty much everybody agrees this thing is like the worst. It's like not even close. I want to say again, I think that the design of it's really cool. Like the offhand incense burner, it looks so cool. I just wish that the effect was a little bit more powerful, mainly because just not everything has an elemental weakness. Like like the Kraken, for example, if it had an elemental weakness, I think this thing would be better. But it's not useful everywhere, and I think that's sort of why people aren't that interested in it, because it's not something I think you plan your build around. It's just something that kind of complements it and adds that little bit of a bonus.
I actually agree, and I think that if you're picking Kandarin as a skilling region, as a points region, because it may be insane for points this year, then this is a nice to have, because you're right, it's an offhand item, so it's not taking up any space that you wouldn't have for it. It pairs really well with the Fremennik jewelry, which we'll get onto next, and it pairs really well with other magic damage boosting items, so it's a great supplement. But like you say, it's really hard to make a build around this item. I think I did one in my builds video that was just like taking advantage of elemental weaknesses, but the amount of case uses once you've picked out regions to maximize that damage, they're actually quite few. So yeah, I love that they did something for elemental weaknesses, because again, capitalizing on any new game mechanics that they brought in as a result of Project Rebalance is a great idea. But the case uses in leagues where you're locked to certain regions just limits its its viability entirely.
It would be, I think something like this, though, would be one of the coolest items to add as a super rare drop to the main game. It's probably the closest one, which might speak to its power level that it could transfer over to the main game. But I think it's more that it's situationally niche. I know that the biggest thing that I've seen about this is a melee build in Kandarin, because you are getting Piety, right? Mm-hmm. No guarantee that you're going to get Grimmy to get Piety for free, right? Uh-huh. And this will help you anytime that you need magic. So the big one I was thinking about was Zulrah in Tirannwn, right? Mm. That sucks. You can't attack it with melee. It's completely immune to melee. Mm. Well, if you have this item, I feel like Zulrah's not going to feel that hard. Like, you're going to eviscerate with the fire weakness with whatever staff you have. You can bring a staff of fire and this offhand, and you'll rack up 250 KC of Zulrah in like a couple hours. Like,
super easy.
And for that reason, I think that this is not. It's not like awful. It's still worth considering. It's just you have to treat it as like a. Yeah, you have to treat it as like a supplement item, not try to plan your build around it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the fact that it's locked behind the Thermi as well, I genuinely think it's a bit of an oversight, because 93 Slayer is steep. Even in leagues, can take a little while to get there. And then for this to be the reward, you can easily look at it and think, oh, that feels bad. That feels bad, man.
Yeah, have I ever shown you my my Thermi kills from Leagues 2?
No, how many did you do?
You might like to see this. So this is my Thermi. You might want to throw this up, okay? I'm almost excited to do Echo Thermi after this menace that I went through.
What the hell? And what was that all for a green log? Body. Was that for the chain?
Nope, that was for the dragon chain body, because it was a task in Fremennik.
No.
I needed it. Yeah. 3,000 kills. It was rough.
Dude, that's
and there was no instance, so if somebody else was there, I would be hopping worlds trying to find a free world, and then I would just sit there for 10 hours not giving it up.
That's crazy. You know what that reminds me of? And mine's not nearly as bad, I don't think, but I think in Leagues, not in Leagues 2, because Leagues 2 Zaya wasn't a thing. In Shattered Relics, I think I had 1,200 Hydra KC for a claw. And that felt really bad. I spent like a whole week grinding that out for a claw, and then that was like maybe week 3 of Leagues, because this was like a second account, and at that point everyone had stopped playing, and I was like, oh man, this just ruined my Leagues experience. Hopefully good RNG for us both this year. Fremennik. Oh god, where do we start? Let's just go over the I feel like this is the only one we have to talk about the stats for, because they are actually that good. And that's actually the only thing that matters about these. Oh, 100%. So we get an Amulet of the Monarchs and the Emperor Ring. Oh, what do we say, man? These are just good in everything. 30 attack, plus 30 to all attack styles and defense styles on both the ring and the amulet. That by itself is crazy. But then that's not even the half of it, is it?
No, not at all. And remember, we talked about getting something tanky. I think if it was the attack, the defense stats, and the 10 prayer on each of these, this would still be a really good pick. Yeah. Because that's a lot of I know tankiness is like nobody really cares about it in leagues, but it is important. Like it does help you when you're wearing black D-hide at Tombs of Amascut.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it was you or someone else, but I remember seeing a comment of being like, you could half all of the attack and defensive styles on both of the ring and the amulet. Keep the other bonuses, which we'll get onto in a sec. But you could half those main stats, and this would still be insane.
I think you can go further and half every single number on this thing, and I would still probably pick it.
Yeah.
It's that good. It is so strong.
Yeah, 100%. And so the other bonuses it gives, obviously, it's going to give a lot of melee strength. The range strength it gives is crazy. That's like just the amulet, by the way, is double the range strength you get from a full set of Missouri. Just from one amulet.
Anguish gives you 5. This gives you 15 on the amulet.
Yeah, it's so not only is it killed off Kandarin.
Venator ring gives you, by the way?
How much what?
Do you know how much Venator bow gives, or Venator ring gives you?
No,
it's 2 range strength. 2 range strength for Venator ring. That's your
crazy.
best in slot ring. And this is 15 range strength. Like, it's a lot of range strength, and range strength is already probably the most valuable one because of how well it scales with fast weapons and how ranged weapons are not really the important part. It's more about ammo and your gear.
Yeah, no, it's crazy for range strength. The prayer bonus goes so well with builds we'll get onto later on, but 20 prayer bonus from these two things, crazy. And then the magic damage, I mean, it's a Kandarin killer, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's like pre-nerf occult necklace on top of a 5% ring.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's not loads to say about Fremennik other than these pieces of jewelry go so well with anything you could possibly be cooking up that I almost feel like I'm trolling if I don't pick Fremy this league.
I think the feeling about this is that, like, you never start with Fremennik, but if anybody asks you what should my third region be, the answer right now is Fremennik. Like, yeah.
Like, if you've already locked in your starter region that you're going to use to boost yourself for points and tasks, if you've already locked in your late game region, like a raid region, and you don't know what to pick for your third, Fremy's the obvious choice.
I do think melee can pass up on it a little bit easier because they have other options. Like, even I think like an amulet of strength is like 10 melee strength, right? Like that's a chanted ruby amulet. So I think if you're melee, you probably don't need to like worry about this too much. I think for magic and ranged, it's a pretty significant amount of power that you're missing. I mean, 15% tripled by shadow. That's 45% magic damage. Like, you're literally like capping this. You're almost going to cap out the shadow with gear like this and a couple other regions.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, if you're going down a shadow build, you have to pick this. It's just that good. Tirannwn. I don't know how to pronounce that, by the way. Some people were bashing my pronunciation of it. How are you meant to pronounce this region?
I think I changed my sometimes I'll like do like 3 different pronunciations. Like, I'll say Sol Heredit and then Sol Heredit.
Because I do that, yeah.
You know, I like play both sides, you know, so I always, people can like be like, oh, okay, you said it right. He just misspoke that time. You know what I mean? That's my strategy
smart.
there.
That is smart.
Yeah.
No idea how to pronounce it, but Tirannwn, we're getting the Crystal Blessing from the Hunlif. So this one's kind of cool. So to get the Echo Orb to fight Echo Hunlif, you'll have to do the Corrupted Gauntlet. You can't do the regular one, which I think is fair enough in a league because the Corrupted one becomes as easy as the regular one once you've got all your league's power. But I know that alone is scaring some people, especially considering Echo Hunlif is master difficulty. What I will say is that I think you'll be surprised with, how well you can do against this boss and how accessible it is early.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to add one more thing on Hunlif, and that's if you are scared about it, don't forget that Echo Hunlif, you won't have to do the prep phase. So even if you're not skilled at Hunlif, you're not spending 5-6 minutes. You can just beat your head down at this boss. And I know I suck at Hunlif. It is my worst boss. I almost want to pick this just to get like the super like hyperbolic time chamber practice on this boss. Run it over and over and over again. But yeah, let's talk about the Crystal Blessing. Basically what this does is while you are wearing the crystal armor set, you do have to wear you don't have to wear all 3 pieces, but when you're wearing the crystal armor set, that bonus will also affect all melee weapons. And that's a 30% accuracy, 15% damage when you're wearing all 3. You can drop one, you'll lose a little bit. I don't know the exact numbers, but that's what you should think about it. It's a very powerful melee armor set that will work with any weapon.
Yeah. Any melee weapon.
Any melee weapon, sorry. Any melee weapon, just to clarify.
Yeah. And also, works with the Bofa. So you've instantly
and works for Bofa too, right?
Yeah. So you've instantly got some hybrid capability there for your off style. Bofa is just insane on its own, isn't it? But there's so many cool weapons, man. Like, what? Tell me, because I've had loads of time to think about this since I did the video. But tell me, what were your first impressions? Like, what items were you thinking to pair with this?
I mainly started to think about like, okay, first off, I didn't think it would be that good. I saw this and I was like, I mean, it's a crystal, like, okay, like you're getting the crystal armor set effect. And then people started doing the math and I started seeing that like, this is just the best melee armor in the game now. Like you with a scythe, I think this beats everything. Yeah. Like, and that was like, I was like, oh, I guess big numbers are good. I guess that is quite a bit of damage. Like, oh, so I think that this is going to be a very competitive option. Again, I really like the idea of a lot of different regions giving you a strong armor piece. And the fact that it does work with Bofa too, with like basically like a one-way swap at that point, right? Yeah. Like you just swap to Bofa and you're good. I think this is going to be like, I think the Tirannwn is going to be really, really fun. I'm still a little bit worried about Zulrah because Zulrah is immune to melee. I don't know if you'll be able to like I don't know how you're going to do that as melee. I think you have to have an answer to that. But I think the Crystal Blessing is going to bring so many people to Tirannwn. I think this is going to be a very hot region in Leagues 5.
100%. And do you remember when we first did our region tier list and Mod Husky was calling us out in the Discord saying like, how dare you rank Tirannwn
That's not fair. He knew more than we did.
He knew. And at that point, I didn't know. And boy, do I feel like, if I could change it, which we will get onto later, Tirannwn's definitely moving up. The numbers, like you say, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, fair enough, you can apply it to a fair few weapons, but like, what does it actually look like? And soon as we got that Gearscape DPS calculator up and running with the Crystal Blessing and the Crystal Armor sets, the maths wasn't lying. This goes crazy, and I think my favorite thing to pair it with, actually, besides the obvious things like the Scythe, the Soul Reaper Axe, and I spoke about this plenty in my builds video, it's the Thunder Khopesh.
Right.
Because it has a 20% chance to summon lightning on successful hit, so more accuracy, more lightning, more damage on the lightning, etc. So yeah, it's really cool how it pairs with some of the other items around the game, like the Echo items. A lot of people aren't happy that you have to wear, crystal armor though. What do you think about that?
I think that's I think that's what makes it good, is that you're getting a melee armor set without having to go to Asgarnia, which had Bandos and Torva, right? And then, like, if you go to if you go to Morytania, like, you can get Inquisitor, and like, it's kind of hard to get Inquisitor. It's a pretty rare set of armor. I think something like Crystal is way easier to get. Like, we'll talk about this. This is a big reason why I like Varlamore too, is because you're getting all those different armor pieces. And I think that that's perfectly fine. If you could combine it with everything else, they would just have to like change the set effect, right? And also, keep in mind, you can change the color of your crystal armor. That's cool. As that you get like transmog on your gear. That's like, what? How are you upset about that? It's not like everybody's going to be running around with like the light blue effect. Like, I'm going to be repping Heffen Red. That's my clan, my elf clan. So
nice. I'm gonna be going. I like the black. I like the black crystal set, but I know that's a very basic answer. I just like the black.
Is cool.
Yeah. Right. Moving on to Zaya. Honestly, I think this might be my favorite thing in Leagues, just because of like, I feel like the meme score on this item is like 10 out of 10.
Have you heard the names for so it's called the Nature's Reprisal. Have you heard like some of the nicknames people are going with?
I call it the Tree Trumpet, but what do you call it?
I've been calling it the Trumpet because it literally looks like a big like brass instrument that you're like shooting out of. It's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. Do you want to explain it then? Because I just love that it's Hespori, by the way, but go for it.
Yeah, so the best way to think about this is it's a super salamander. It has a magic, a ranged, and a melee option in your attack styles, and the melee does attack from range. Now, we don't know if that works for things like Zulrah, which is technically immune to melee, but I have seen some people speculating that you'll be able to do like melee Zuck. You just can't attack from like the super far safe tiles.
He's also immune to melee though, isn't he? So again, it's going to be like...
Is he immune to melee?
Yeah.
Is that true? Has anybody attacked him with melee before?
I'm pretty sure he is. I can double check now.
Yeah.
But like,
I feel like that's the weird thing, because nobody's tested it. There's no halberd that reaches that long.
Oh, so, I guess not.
It will be interesting for sure. I think having a melee option that attacks from far away though is something that I've asked for like kind of a while. It's something I really wanted from Leagues. It's going to make things like Melee Inferno, Melee Fight Caves easier. Those are pretty big combat achievements to get, and they can be kind of a pain. And I just think that having all 3 styles from what I believe is going to be a relatively easy boss is going to just be I think it's just going to be so massive for everybody. Like, I really feel like you could get this item and just start doing Chambers of Xeric, and
yeah,
you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's what we spoke about as soon as we saw this, wasn't it? It was like how accessible this might be for not only getting in and fighting Echo Hespori pretty quickly, because this is one of the Echo bosses that gives you a guaranteed orb. So, you know, your first Hespori, you beat it, you get the orb, you can jump straight into Echo Hespori. People will look at the stats and say it's a bad item, and I don't think they're looking at this the right way, because you can, like you've just said there, you might be able to get this item pretty early. A 4-tick ranged melee weapon that can do all 3 styles. You could jump straight into Chambers of Xeric. You could tackle your late game content or do whatever you need to do now around the mid game with ease. So I think you need to look at it that way. You know, anyone who's looking at this and thinking like it sucks. And actually, all you need to do is pair this with a few other things to make it really strong as well. You know, we just spoke about Tirannwn. I really like the idea of pairing the Crystal Arm and the Crystal Blessing with the melee Nature's Reprisal.
It will work, yeah.
So that's super cool.
With that and with special attacks of melee weapons too.
Super cool. Super cool. Mm-hmm. Love this item.
I want to make one correction. I think it's 5-tick when you're on melee and magic, 4-tick with ranged.
Oh, is it? I thought it was just a universal 5 and 4. So is it different per style?
Or I think it's 5, and then when you're on rapid with ranged, it goes to 4. Basically.
Right, that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
And like, again, looking at it, is it worse than something like Bofa with Crystal Armor? I think it is. Like, the stats aren't insane, but not only will you be able to access Hespori pretty early, but once you've gotten the Echo Orb on your first Hespori plant, you can keep killing this thing without needing to plant more seeds. You just keep farming Hespori. So like, I mean, do I think that this thing, like, let's say Bofa is better, right? Well, Bofa is a grind. That's going to take you some time. You might be able to get this faster than Bofa, and you're essentially grinding 3 like entry raid weapons in one. And I don't think people understand that this is like, it's putting 3 grinds into one: a magic, a melee, and a range swap.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like TOA when your range is like, you're using like a rune crossbow?
Yeah,
it's like,
sucks.
Holy moly, half of Wardeds is just trying to get through that one phase.
Yeah.
So,
or like the other way around with melee was like, for me, the TOA experience in Leagues 4 was when I got to Akka, I would just have to pray that my whip would actually hit. Like, I just prayed, man. It was so painful. So this just makes all of that easier. It's so good. So good for that.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I like that there's early game and late game options. There's like a nice little blend there. Let's
move on to Varlamore. We've got Soul Heredit. Yep. Honestly, my mind was blown when I saw this, because I thought they've got to be trolling. Like, this is this is scary for a lot of people.
I don't think anybody predicted this. Like,
no,
I don't think anybody
really. You think it was
really thought that this?
I remember speaking with Hootie, because Hootie did a poll, didn't he, in the official League's Discord of guess the Echo boss reward, and I think he said to me that very few single-digit numbers of people guessed Hespori and Soul Heredit. I think they were the fewest like guesses. So this one caught everyone by surprise.
Yeah, man, I think that, to me right now, I know with literally, if this was the only announcement for Leagues, I would say with absolute certainty I will be going to Varlamore at some point in the next 8 weeks of Leagues. Like, I will be going there, and I will be fighting this boss, and I will get, you know, my shit wrecked in. Like, I will die to this boss, and I'll have the funnest time doing it. Because not only do you, like, okay, first off, Soul is just the coolest boss in the entire game. Like, straight up, he just is. Like, this is not even an opinion. It's just fact. He's super cool.
I love the design of this boss.
And once you do the waves one time, you'll have the Echo variant of Soul, and you can just do Soul, or just do Echo Soul, which means like you can spam this boss over and over again. And I don't care about Leagues points. I don't care about rankings. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to fight Soul all day. This guy is so cool. Yeah. And man, the weapons are cool too. Like,
they're so cool. Before we get onto the weapons, because I see a lot of comments in the official Discord, on my videos, and I think on other people's videos, that people who were once considering Varlamore are thinking like, oh, I'm not going to pick it now because this is genuinely just too big a challenge. What I'll say to that is exactly on the lines of what you've just said. Because once you've done the Colosseum once, which really won't be that hard with League's power, by the way, you will get there eventually. I'm confident you do it enough times, you'll do it. Jumping straight into the fight with Soul, similar to the Hunlith. Even if you think you suck at it, do it enough times, I guarantee you'll do it. I guarantee eventually you will get it down. Will you die a ton of times beforehand? Sure, but I feel like that's just part of the experience anyway. Don't be put off picking Varlamore because Soul is a Grandmaster level difficulty Echo boss. I think it's going to be so rewarding to do it.
Well, and I'll also just think about that from like, let's say you haven't done the Colosseum in the main game, right? First time I did Inferno was Shattered Relics leaks, and a big reason why I was able to do the Inferno was because I got practice at Zuck and at Triple Jads in leaks. Yeah, and like that doesn't really change that much, honestly. Like Zuck still one-shots you if you make a mistake and move out. But when I did Inferno in the main game, I kind of had that confidence where my hands weren't like shaking like, I mean, they were still shaking a lot, but I wasn't like completely freaking out because I had seen the boss before and I had that confidence. And I think that like if using this as like an opportunity to practice Soul, to me is almost like, imagine there was just a Zuck fighter in League, so you could just fight Zuck over and over again and just get so good at that fight without having to commit an hour to doing the waves. That's a really good tool. You will get through the waves, I guarantee it. Like it's only 11 waves. You'll sometimes just get lucky and they'll just figure themselves out for you. And once you can practice this boss, I also like, again, do I know what this boss could be? It's a Grandmaster one. I have no clue, but I don't think it's going to be like unimaginable levels, you know.
He's got 2 items. Should we jump into those?
Yes, let's talk about them. They're awesome.
They're so cool. Love these. I think they're other than the Nature's Reprisal, these are just my favorite. The Sunlight Spear is the first one. It's a 2-handed weapon. Super cool. First of all, that these are his weapons. So his spear, his shield. Really cool stats on this item. It is a stab weapon, and it does have a lot of just good base stats. But that isn't what this weapon's about, is it? This is a special attacking weapon. There's a big AoE slam. Hits all the NPCs around you in like 3 tiles. And the damage on it is based off your prayer bonus. So for every point of prayer bonus you have, you get 3% bonus damage on the spec. That's pretty crazy in of itself. Should we talk about the spear first?
Yeah, the 3 tiles looks kind of small with the special attack, but it's 3 in each direction. So it's like a 6x6 around you. It is typeless damage, which means if you're doing Nilo's room in Theater of Blood, you can slam the ground and just clear the whole Nilo's room. That alone is very appealing. I don't think you can clear the whole room, but like you'll clear a corner with it. And also the special attack, if you look at it, it's not actually it's not a real special attack. It's like a Soul Reaper Axe. It's its own stacking special attack, which means you'll actually be able to go use other special attacks, maybe the dog sword, maybe whatever else you have, and then swap to this, keep attacking, build the stuff. I also think that you could probably use this to like get up to 20 stacks. Then you hit like a hard part of a boss, right? And then you just boom, 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 slam 3 specs, and it just nukes like all the hard. It's almost like an executioner there because you get to save all that power. Oh, and it stacks with prayer, which I think is so cool to have like a like, can you imagine people like swapping like 8-way prayer swap just to do the special attack or something? Like 3 special attacks, 8-way prayer swap, and then you go back.
It's such a simple concept. I'm really surprised it's not in the main game already.
I saw this and I was like, wait, why is this not the Coliseum reward?
Right.
I like, hey, give me this in the real game. Like,
I genuinely was surprised. I saw it and I thought, this is so good. I love the design. I love the weapon. I love its special effect. I did run it through some DPS calcs, and it's actually super impressive when you max out your prayer bonus. Don't get me wrong, that's not an easy thing to do. You know, you're going to need to pick very specific regions, and it's going to take a while to get everything, but the potential of that like meme prayer build, the priest build, so cool. So cool. I've
seen some people calling it a cleric build too.
Cleric, that's a good idea.
With like, so that one's pretty cool. I hope that catches on. I really am excited for this thing. I have a good feeling about it. I think the numbers alone don't look that good, but I would be shocked if this thing doesn't end up being incredibly fun to use.
Oh, for sure. People. Okay, the second item is the Sunlit Bracers, and these are a glove slot item. They actually give really good all-round stats, actually. So defensively, offensively, attack and defense bonuses are pretty generous. But the main thing is that while wearing the gloves, all healing received, like universal, all healing received is doubled.
I mean, just straight up doubling it is just nuts. Even with something like a shark, right? It's 20 to 40, right? You eat a shark Karam one, you're combo eating like 76, I think.
Yeah.
Every mistake you ever make in any PVM, you just combo eat, you're good. Like if you triple eat with a Ceradoman brew, you're like going way above 100. Yeah, I don't know. It's like this thing is awesome. Also, if any kind of lifesteal comes back, you got the Blood Fury over in Morytania. Things like that are gonna go really well with this, and I think it's just a nice little bonus on top of the Sunlight Spear combo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they can go pretty well together. Like you say, if you do pair it with like a Blood Fury, it's going to go well. For food, it's great. I think the fact it's with the Varlamore region is really nice as well, because some of the hunter food heals more than anything in the game.
Including the bonus. The bonus part would also give you, that's actually kind of sweet.
So like one piece of Moonlight antler meat would heal, I mean, I can't remember. How much does it heal overall? Is it like 26?
I think it's like 26, yeah. There's like a delay part to it, but I think it's like 26 or something like that. It's pretty strong. So like one piece of food, as long as you don't like need it as an emergency, it's going to heal so much. It's going to like stretch out your healing and supplies for so much longer. I do think the issue with this item is that it's a super nice piece of utility that's locked behind potentially the hardest challenge in Leagues 5. So like a lot of people saying that it would be nice to have here or there or wherever. It's like, realistically, by the time you get this, you're probably not that bothered about the healing. It's just going to be a nice to have. I think something like this is like, I would expect something like this from like Grotesque Guardians, you know, an early game, big life stealing bonus. Yeah. I just feel like it's one of those things where like, it's so strong, but I feel like it's going to come in way too late to really be that much value. And like when you're strong enough to not just kill Echo Soul, but actually like farm him enough to hit the drop rate. We don't know what the drop rates are. But I don't think it's going to be 100% guaranteed. I just don't know if it's going to like push it over the edge of being like, oh, wow, I really, really want this. So that once I kill every boss in the game, then I can live even more in all these fights. Like, I don't know. You never know. Drop rates might be really generous, like you say. It might be, It might be like 100% or something for the. Honestly, and I think that if that was the case, you have to do Soul one time, then you kill Echo Soul one time, and you get this. Like, that might change my opinion quite a bit. Yeah, massively. Because maybe I will just try to brute force it one time, get it, and then, go do other stuff. Same here. So I'm sure, the J-mods are really cooking with everything so far. Maybe that's something they've considered. That was all the Echo bosses and the items. It was a pretty big reveal. Definitely, I think changed a lot of people's plans. Well, let's do real quick. What's your favorite of the whole list? Oh, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say the Nature's Reprisal. Nature's Reprisal? Yeah. What about you? Yeah. I think the Dragor Blowpipe is gonna be really fun to use. Yeah. I mean, we kind of said it, but yeah, I think I'm very much in that boat. Oh, all right, cool. Well, we got some more reveals. Shall we continue? Yeah. Take us on to the Grimmy. Okay, Grimmy. So we got the super simple effect, basically. Arcane Grimoire, or I wish it was called the Gillinor Grimoire. So we had GG, and then cool. Golden God was GG. But Arcane Grimoire, basically, this allows you to swap between all the spell books. Acts as a Book of the Dead, but most importantly, it unlocks all of the spell books and all of the spells, regardless of any restrictions. I think you still need the magic level, and you can't cast like Camelot Teleport if you don't have Kandarin. Yeah, but it also gives you all the spells, all the spell books, all of the prayers. Yeah, that's a big one. When this was first teased, obviously they had to add more in from the previous leagues, right? Because the Arcane Grimoire has been in previous leagues. Just that all it's really done before is swap spellbooks, and you could carry it with you and swap anytime. The fact that this now opens up more region flexibility, you don't need Kandarin for Piety anymore, you don't need Zaya for Rigor or Augury anymore, and you don't need the Desert for Ancient Magics, you don't need Fremennik for Lunas. It opens up a lot of flexibility, doesn't it? And I think until we know what this is paired against, this just feels so nice for Leagues 5. It's almost giving people who feel hard done by their region choices another way out of their restrictions. Yeah, I totally agree with you that, like, this is something that is impossible to rate in isolation, just like so many of these like standalone relics. I know that a lot of people initially looked at this and were like, oh, this is kind of lame. You're removing some of like the region restrictions. Like, isn't that what makes these regions cool? Yeah. But you have to realize that you're giving up a relic in place of that. Yeah. Last year, Ruinous Powers, which I think is the closest equivalent to this, that competed against Farmer's Fortune. Yeah. Yeah. And Farmer's Fortune blew it away. Yeah. So, before you're like dead set on picking this thing, just understand, like, this is going to come at the cost of a possibly other stronger relic. But I like these relics that the strength of them is that it almost frees up a region slot that you feel is like so important for you, for like whether that's a prayer, whether that's a certain spell book. I love that you can get ancients without the desert now.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna make, like, to me, that made like mage and Morytania like so much cooler.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, dude, I don't want to go the desert anymore. Yeah, and even if you're like melee in Morytania, just having freezes for Theater of Blood is gonna be good. Like it's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
So I like this thing a lot. I think it's really cool. I like not having specific regions that feel sort of like auto completed for you, that you kind of have to path through for like specific things. And they've done such a good job this year of opening up a lot of like options. You can kind of go whatever you want, I think.
So I get where whoever made that comment to you, I get where they're coming from, because I suppose this was the first thing that started the whole Kanda bin thing. You know, Kandarin in the bin. Kandarin is dying region this year. I mean, we'll see. You know, things could change.
I think we got the Echo Boss too, which was pretty disappointing for people.
The Echo Boss,
this was like nail in the coffin. You know, it was like Kandarin's dead. Now it's like buried like 12 feet under, right?
Yeah, because I mean, melee builds historically, like, you really don't want to pick Kandarin. You know, the Amulet of Torture and Piety just felt like such a boost, though. That again, it just felt like when you were picking mage for Kandarin, it's like, I'm only picking this region for the couple of things I want to boost my build. Otherwise, I don't want it. And this just gives you another way around that. So I get where that person's coming from, whoever made that comment about like, is this taking away from the restriction element of leagues? Like, yes, obviously it kind of is, but I actually think that it's more of a positive than it is a negative. What tier do you reckon this would come in at, though?
I'm thinking this is going to be like a tier 4 or something, because I don't think we're going to get combat relics in like the main thing. I think they said there's only one tier of combat relics.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be around like 4. I guess my guess here, and this actually segues to the next thing, is like we got the harvest at tier 1, teleport at tier 2.
Yeah,
probably. I think Golden God feels like it's going to go in 3. It's like that economy one.
Yeah, it can't come in too late, can it? Because I feel like at that point, yeah. So I agree.
And I think this at like tier 4. I think Ruinous Powers was a tier 6 relic, so that would already be a lot earlier. I think this at like tier 4, tier 5 maybe.
Yeah, I think if we're going by the whole crack theory, which I don't think I've ever bought in, but at the same time, I didn't pay much attention to it, this would be a tier 5 relic.
Probably something I think you get like day 2 or 3. Well, it depends on how much you play, I guess, but probably like when you're about in your second region, about halfway to your third region is where I would guess. That's roughly where I think you're going to get this. Yeah.
So the next one is, I think they've just titled it combo item drops. And essentially there's a big infographic that will probably do this more justice than me explaining it. But essentially what is happening for Leagues 5 is a lot of bosses that drop component pieces for items will now just drop those items in full.
A great is Morytania, right? We just saw Araxor added, and that gives you the Amulet of Rancor. However, in the main game, because of the restrictions of a main game economy, you also need the Amulet of Torture, and then you upgrade it. Yeah. Now Araxor just drops the Amulet of Rancor, and that's like basically best in slot melee outside of the Fremennik echoes. Avernic Hilt, that's an Avernic Defender. Dragon Hunter Lance from Alchemical Hydra. It's not the claw anymore, it's just the Dragon Hunter Lance. It also drops Ferocious Gloves. Basically, all of the items that are unusable without their component piece drops as the full. So this means some things like Masori from the desert, you're not going to get the fortified version because you can use regular Masori, but like a Magic Fang from Zelra, that's useless unless you have a Trident. Or Staff of the Dead, but I don't think they talked about that. But you'll get a Trident just from Zulrah, which is pretty cool.
A big one.
And we can go, like, there's a lot of them. I don't think we need to talk about all of them, maybe just a couple standouts.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my favorite standout is, actually? And it's probably not one most people have thought about, but Musper dropping just an Ancient Scepter actually opens up a lot of viability for like a Blood Barrage type build if you pair it with the Grimoire Relic that we just spoke about. You no longer need the desert for either Ancient Magics or an ancient staff in the first place, and I think that's really cool. But there are so many other big examples. What do you think is one of the biggest ones for you?
So I have two, but I think I think we should talk about the Desert Treasure 2 rings, because that is awesome.
Of course,
and
yeah.
I was actually going to make a video complaining about Fremennik, and then the next day they dropped the rings. That all the Desert Treasure 2 bosses, which they don't require the desert to access, and they'll drop the rings. You don't need the Fremennik to upgrade that ring.
Yeah.
For me, this makes a Vardorvis with the Ultor ring just awesome.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people are also going to go with like Morytania for the Rancor. And I think those two pieces are so strong that in a lot of ways, I think you don't really need Fremennik as much anymore with melee.
Yeah.
And I think it makes Varlamore melee super appealing. I don't think I'm going to go Fremennik if I'm going like if I thought about melee, I think I would easily skip.
You can go Vam now,
Fremennik.
can't you? So like people are
like
thinking Vam
or
for that.
something like that. Like there's a lot of cool stuff I think you can do, or like even VWM. You go Varlamore Wildy Morytania. Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Hard to read when you have like VWM. It's like hard to read those letters, but yeah, what do you think about the Treasure 2 rings? What is that?
I really like it. I do think that the only style that it really forgives itself for is melee, because as you've already said earlier in this video, the archer ring, the upgraded archer's ring,
Venador
ring. The Venador ring barely gives you any bonuses. The ring that you get from the Whisperer is, in my opinion, kind of crappy anyway, and the magic ring you get from Fremi anyway.
Yeah.
So like, what's the point? Yeah. So like, what's the point? So I guess the only one for me that this makes a big difference on, as you've already said, is melee. And I think for that reason, melee's looking really good this year for flexibility. You know, it's probably the only style that you don't feel bad for not picking Fremennik. All right, go for it. We're on to teleport relics.
Yeah, teleport relics. So these are pretty standard. They're usually tier 2. I'm going to assume it's tier 2 this time around.
Yeah.
Fairy's Flight is coming back, just like in last year. You got, your leprechauns and stuff like that. But we got 2 new ones. Bank Heist, which teleports you to any bank, deposit box, literally any bank in the game. I think even some of the like NPC bankers, some of these work. Mm-hmm. And then the big one, which I think is Clue Compass. And this caught a lot of people. This thing allows you to teleport to any stash unit in the game. You don't have to have it built. You don't have to fill it up with any items. You can teleport to any stash unit, and there's a lot of them. And it also has that bonus effect of you can teleport to your currently active clue steps.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. This one actually blew my mind. I'm not even going to lie, because I thought that when it came to teleport relics, we would just get the same treatment as the other years. We get 2, and it's going to be like a jewelry based or a bank based and, a niche based one. But now we've got like all of these have been developed now to be kind of niche in their own way. And I honestly don't know which way I'm leaning right now. If I can just give my personal opinion, I can't decide between the... I'm actually not bothered about the banking one. I know that sounds bad because there's a lot of cool deposit box locations away from a bank. But I really am on the fence right now about Fairy's Fortune or the Clue Compass one. I almost definitely want to pick the Clue Compass one just because it's new.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of cool is like Fairy's Flight was really cool last year because it offered you these new teleports. And I don't know, did you use Fairy's Flight last year? Did you get a chance? Do you remember having to like reprogram your brain to like learn all the leprechaun teleports? Like that was so good. And then you go back to the main game and you're like, how do I play? Like, how do I play this game without this? I think Clue Compass is actually going to break people's brains going back to the main game and not having all those clue stash teleports. Like, it's pretty nuts. And it's kind of crazy that this makes Fairy's Flight, like Bank Heist and this one, they kind of make Fairy Flight seem a little boring in comparison.
Yeah.
When it was already so unique and new, like that was a year ago. And it was so cool.
There's fewer options, right? Like I think I had a brief look at the teleport locations. I think there's fewer options for Fairy's Flight than there is for the other 2.
I think there is fewer, but I think a lot of them are pretty unique and they're like usually close to farming patches, which I think is
that's amazing. That's good in itself. Yeah. I agree.
I will say this, there's a lot more teleports for Bank and Clue Compass, but there's a lot more really useless ones for Bank and Clue Compass. Like there's like probably 17 different stashes in Varrock.
Just
like,
out in the middle of nowhere as well sometimes. Like you would never want to teleport there.
Right. And it's like I think that a lot of people are gravitating towards Clue Compass. I think all of these are very, very good. I think Bank is honestly very strong too, even though I think a lot of people think it's boring. They think like, it's not hard to get to a bank. You don't use this to get to a bank. That's not what makes it good. You use it because there's banks literally everywhere on the entire map. Like you can check Zaya. There's not that many stashes. There's a lot of banks over there.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a really fun choice. I don't think there's going to be a clear-cut favorite, except for I think Clue Compass though is going to get way more attention in general. Or when I say clear-cut favorite, I mean like strongest power level. I think Clue Compass though is probably going to get picked by a lot of people because it's so unique. And also, I'm not going to lie, that part about teleporting to your active clue, that feels way huger than the other ones. And that's like the real tipping point for me. I feel like if it was just that, I would almost go for it because it will make clues so fast when you can just like boop, 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 you know, go get all your clue steps done. The hard thing about this though is I don't know if it works for every clue step because it says like it requires you to kill a certain NPC. What does that mean for like coordinate clues that have you killing like a Zamorak wizard or something? I don't know if that works, and that's the only thing I'm a little scared about.
This will not work on clue steps that require you to kill a certain NPC. So what we're saying is when you have those Zamorak mage set, clue steps, it might not work for those.
The thing is, I don't know, because it might also mean like go kill a guard for a key kind of thing.
Right. That makes, it could be that as well. I mean, that's really interesting.
There are coordinate clues that don't have that. Like there are coordinate clues that you just dig at the location. Yeah. So that's where I'm not sure.
But I think it will be
just like the clue relic,
Yeah, but it will be really strong especially for those hot and cold clues where, even if you've got the wiki up next to you, it's a pain in the arse sometimes to have to go around and find those. But it also also unlocks the ability to juggle some clues in your bank that have really good locations. So like you can almost like bank, one of each clue step that have really useful locations. If you're not bothered about doing the clues in the first place, or if you've already done a lot of clue tasks, I'll get onto that point in just a sec. But yeah, the utility just from that is also awesome. But back onto those points, this relic as well seems especially strong for early point farming tasks. We know there's always going to be tasks around complete X clue, complete X amount of clues. Maybe this year we'll have collection log slots filled in as well. So who knows? This could just be really good for jumping around, getting loads of tasks done early. I think it's really strong for that.
That's like kind of to me why I'm basically locked into this one right now. It's hard for me to obviously justify right now to see everything else. But like, I feel like if I take this, I don't know if I really care about a clue relic anymore, because I'll already just teleport to like most of my clues right away. So if it's 5 steps versus 3 steps, like do I care that much if every step takes you like 6 seconds to do and you just instant teleport with one click in your inventory?
Yeah.
I feel like beginners, easies, mediums, this is going to fly you through those at like stupid rates. And I think this is going to let me pass up the clue relic instead of like doubling down. And now you're like a clue machine just working through that task list. I'm a clue compass enjoyer. That's definitely
I think I will be too. I think I will be too. Not even going to lie. It's mostly just because of the novelty, but I think it'll be super fun.
We got one more to talk about,
Let's talk about this because this is arguably the biggest one since the Echo Boss reveal, I think.
I think this is probably like one of the hardest choices
I think in terms of debating, it's caused a lot. Like I was looking through Reddit and the memes on this are so good. They are so good.
Yeah, I've seen like the strongest relic in history versus the strongest relic of today. Like I love that one with Jujutsu Kaisen. Like there's some really good ones.
I love that.
People are like the A tier memes right now are like so good.
They're great. I think my favorite one is like, why do I need to teleport to a bank? Like I am the bank or something like that. And it's obviously the banker's note.
So I made one, right? And this was pretty funny. It was did you pick Banker's Note because you're trash at PVM, or are you trash at PVM because you're picking Banker's Note?
It's another Jujutsu Kaisen one. That's great.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really there's a lot of good things. I guess let's just talk about these two, right? Everybody probably knows about it, but we got Banker's Note, which allows you to note and unnote items in basically anywhere. That sounds insane. That's because it really is that insane. And this opens up just so much things. I've probably talked about them. Everybody's talked about them, but like we all know, this makes you can bring in infinite food to raids and Inferno and stuff like that. I did a bunch of my fletching and pest control. Like there's a lot. You want to talk about Total Recall?
Yeah, so Total Recall. I don't think anyone saw this coming. I mean, I guess there were some people speculating, is it last recall because we've already had a fire sale thing.
I think
but
people expected just last recall, yeah.
Yeah, so Total Recall. It is a buffed last recall. So you get the Crystal Echoes again, which is an item that sits in your inventory. The difference this year is that it doesn't bank your location when you teleport. So you can store a location or a coordinate, more specifically. And that will also kind of set a save point for your character's hit points, special attack energy, stats. I'm putting a question mark on that one because does it work with boosted stats? You can tell me in just a second. Run energy, well, obviously run energy is full, but essentially it just creates a save point of your character at that point with your stats and everything, and you can teleport back to it whenever you want. They store while inside an instance, but you cannot teleport to within an instance. And there are some locations from the tooltip that it says it won't store a location in, like certain mini games. Again, places that I think just make sense. I believe it doesn't have a cooldown, right?
No cooldown, and the animation's also faster too.
And the animation's faster as well. So that's pretty cool. I do think this is it's a great upgrade from Total Recall, and I'm just going to give my really quick thoughts. To me, though, it's just not enough to compete with Banker's Note. I don't even think, so I was one of the people who, when I was talking to some people in Discord the other day, I don't even think Banker's Note is that strong late game. Like, I think it's amazing early, but like late game, last league, I actually found that like there came a point I didn't need that infinite food source anymore. Don't get me wrong, it was still great for like skilling on the go or whatever, but like, I still don't think Total Recall is enough to compete.
I'll basically say I think Banker's Note is probably the better relic, and a lot of people are going to find it better. Especially, I would say, like straight up, if you've never done Coliseum or Inferno, or you're like new to raids, I feel like Banker's Note is almost like 100% pick.
Yeah.
That being said, Banker's Note does require a little bit of skill to manage your inventory. It's not like the most brainless thing ever. Like when you're in the middle of Baba and you're trying to unnote your sharks.
Oh, I've died like that before.
Yeah, I've died. Like I swear, I feel like Banker's Note's killed me more times than it saved me in TOA. And then sometimes I just be like, all right, screw it. We're just going to use whatever I have and focus here. But like Banker's Note's really strong. I totally understand why everybody loves it, and I almost don't even have to like praise it that much because everybody knows it's so good. But I feel like some people overrate some like I think like some of the skilling portions of Banker's Note are largely overrated. Okay, it makes rune crafting insane. That's amazing. I'm not gonna question that. But then people are like, oh well, what I can do is I can bring gems and a chisel, and I will craft gems as I walk from this point to this point. And I'm like, you're really going to be doing that the whole
You're not going to do
like,
that.
Yeah, like, and for most other things like smithing and stuff like that, like last recall kind of does that too, right? You teleport to the spot, or you teleport to a bank, grab stuff. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to do like the menuing in your bank, but it's not that much worse, I would say. No. And as far as like actual combat goes, like, you know, you do get to a point where I don't think you need that much supplies inside of raids. I wasn't, you know, I didn't need 25 brews every single raid, right? And I understand that might just be me. Maybe you, like, if you do need it, that's fine. I'm not even trying to say it's like a skill difference. Not you specifically. I know you're really fine, but I mean, like if you're new, I would take this. If I was playing 2 years ago, I would take this 100% because I hadn't had that PVM experience. Yeah, and it helps. To me, I think Total Recall, the reason why I like it is because it is an unproven concept. We have no idea. We don't know what it does yet. You know what I mean? Like, we can't quite.
The tech hasn't been
like the tech hasn't even been discovered yet. I think a lot of people look at it and they think like, oh, every Echo boss is an instance, so this thing sucks. It's not going to help me, right? But like, think about it as like Vorkath, right? Yeah. You can just plant yourself at that tile right outside the little rock, and then you kill Vorkath. Yeah. And then you just go right to start, jump over. And Vorkath is probably one of the slower examples, but for most other things like Muspa, you'll just, as soon as you kill the boss, teleport out. You don't even have to wait for the respawn. You just enter the new instance. And and I don't think people understand that it doesn't save your, it's not like last recall. It doesn't save your hit points when you teleport out. It saves it. It's like a save state in a game. Like you're saving. I have, again, you can brew up to 116 or 115, something like that. And your save state is 115 HP at the start of every single fight. If it's not an instance, like all the wildy bosses, it's literally God mode. Yeah. Like,
that's exactly why I was yesterday. There was a moment, right? I'm still 100% a Banker's Note stan, unfortunately, for anyone who thinks that I might be leaning Total Recall. But there was a moment, I had a moment where I thought, is Total Recall best in slot for pretty much non-raids PVM? Because let's say you're just out on a Slayer task, right? And you run out of food, but like it's not exactly a situation where you need to have loads of food. Do you just like save a save state there where you're full HP, potted up, brewed, all that kind of stuff? Total Recall, you just move like a few tiles back, but now you're full HP with boosted stats and you carry on with your Slayer task. If you're doing bosses, like you say, do you just go back to the bank, fill up your inventory again, go back there? I think when it comes to things outside of raids, the difference between Total Recall and Banker's Note is actually very minimal, in my opinion. But it's when you look at raids and it's when you look at certain skilling situations that these really start to show their strengths a bit more.
To me, the big one is also special attack, because there is no potion that restores your special attack, and Total Recall does do that.
Yeah.
Sure, you can sit inside of like an Echo Boss Slayer and fight it 100 times with your Banker's Note, right? Well, you're gonna have to get those supplies, which is not the most fun thing, I'll be honest, right? You will run out. I know it's easy to assume you'll have a million of them, but like you're probably gonna run out. But to me, I think starting every fight, Total Recalling out, and then having like 2, 3, 4 specs, whatever, and we don't even know what the spec relic looks like.
Yeah.
If you can get those specs at the start of every single fight, I feel like that is going to be pretty damn huge. So, and it's not that bad either. Like, again, you just teleport to a bank, come back if you need to grab some more inventory. I mean, if a monster has a really annoying drop table where there's like a bunch of different things, you might have to go back to bank as Banker's Note anyway, or else you'll have like 70, or you have like 17 different noted like supplies, right? Like Vorkath, that's going to be kind of annoying when like 2/3 of your inventory is noted supplies. Yeah, and you're gonna have to go to bank, and you're gonna have to run your way back to Vorkath. Like
exactly. And even with your food with Banker's Note, unless you are just using brews, sometimes having to unnote like a shark and then a Karambwan and then a potion or something, that can take time. Like time that you probably could have banked and just come back with Total Recall. So again, I think people are maybe underestimating some of the stuff you have to do in between with Banker's Note. But it is still, I think, as we both agree at this point, the better relic. So that is all the reveals so far, man. Like, it is, you know what? My time right now, it's 13 minutes past 4, which means that there has been a reveal right now. Let's watch it.
I'm ready. Okay, I'm going to click it.
Okay, go.
Okay. Oh. All right. Not bad.
Okay. That's like an element of Farmer's Fortune.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
Okay. Damn.
This is
just
really
getting passive farming XP on the go. That's crazy, actually.
That is super cool.
And does that is so cool. From that graphic, is that in the same tier as Grimoire?
Oh, I don't know. Did it say anything?
Look at the very end of that video.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh my. Wait, it actually is the same tier as Grimoire.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough. Remember when I said Ruinous Power? Same tier as Farmer's Fortune?
Exactly.
Wow.
You weren't wrong, man. You were on the money with that. Damn.
Dang. I don't know. You want to give first? Like, I don't think we can spend too much on it, but
yeah. I mean, listen, we were just reacting to a video, so I'm just going to give the rundown really quick. Overgrown. It's an item that accesses the seed vault from anywhere in the world. Additionally, you get the following benefits to farming: crops never dying. When planting a seed, a 75% chance it doesn't get consumed. When the seed is fully grown, if your seed vault has another seed of the same type, it automatically harvests that patch and replants the seed. Insane. Yeah, that is so cool.
I think a lot of people are giving up on Grimmy.
I am. I'm definitely giving up on Grimmy now.
I'm like, oh, screw it. All right, back to Kandarin. Let's go. No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this thing's cool. You got what the bank of, I think you can access it and bank your seeds. So
yeah,
it's not going to take up your whole inventory. And then I think the auto farming is it's going to be pretty fun. And I think it's going to be cooler than last year's Farmer's Fortune, where you walked up to like a patch and then you just unloaded all of your like, I don't want to say that, but you used up all of your seeds on the farming patch. And yeah, it was kind of like, I think this is gonna be really cool. I'm very excited for this. I think it's really nice. And you know what else is a cool little teaser is that tier looks like it has 3 relics. So there is another one. Wow. So there is another one still to come that we just don't know what it is yet, and that's really exciting. Was there a 3rd relic in this tier?
last time? Was it Infernal
It was
Tools?
it was Equilibrium, Infernal Gather. Or no, wait. No, I'm wrong. It was it was Equilibrium, Farmer's Fortune, Ruinous Powers. That was the tier last time.
So I wonder, Equilibrium coming back?
Maybe Equilibrium's back for another round on the block.
For another round of the least picked relic. Who knows? Who knows? That's super cool, though. My first thoughts, honestly, are that Zaya Stunk's going through the roof right now.
Oh, yeah. How would this work with farmers' contracts? Wouldn't it be kind of weird if it just auto plants it? And
that's a good point, though, because that's one thing it's missing. That's one thing it's missing, isn't it? Is you can't pick your contracts. Am I right? Am I missing something?
No, it doesn't say anything about that. And also, even if you could pick your contract, if it auto harvests it, does it like auto complete your contract for you? Like, how does that work? You know, that's kind of weird. It would be cool if it auto like refreshed the contract. You know what I mean? Like you get a snake grass contract and it just refreshes that to another one. I don't know how that would work though, but that's cool. That's cool.
Either way, I think the relic by itself really strong. So two totally different uses though. You know, Grimmy and this. So I think I don't think this is going to split the decision massively. I think there will definitely still be people who will value getting the prayers, getting the spell books over this. But I really like the look of this relic. Really like it.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I always love the farming ones. I honestly though, I think looking at it though, I might just really commit to the farming though. I might just force myself to do my farming and recall back. Maybe I'll like grab Fairy's Flight and just actually do my farm runs because Grimoire is pretty good, you know, and I don't know. Maybe that is something that
I think is super exciting about these reveals. We're finally getting to a stage now where the picture is coming together, you know. You can see how some of these relics can be paired together to form a playstyle, and that's super exciting. So that is all the reveals so far. I think we're done.
Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for the chat, man. It was always fun.
Always a pleasure, man. And hopefully speak to you soon.